Okay, folks. Um, so today is it's day five. Day five. If my numbering is correct, because I know I uploaded that other video and then I deleted it. I had my reasons, but going off of that numbering in terms of days, it's day five. And I can talk about like why I deleted it, why I decided to take that down and wait a couple days before I upload anything. And I was originally planning on putting out some sort of bullet point list, but I decided to walk out here. It's about it's closing in on like 7 a.m. But I decided to just do something off the cuff as usual. But so the biggest things that have happened so far recently have been, and for those who did watch that video before I took it down, they know about the Python bootcamp. But for those who don't know, I completed that on Udemy, the complete 2021 complete Python bootcamp from zero to hero. That took me about a month. That was like 22, 23 hours, of video lectures, which obviously, it's like it took longer than just 22 to 23 hours, because obviously, not only was I, pausing the video every so often to, sort of code along, or I was doing exercises, that the instructor assigned. So, in addition to the video hours, there's, all this time spent writing code, that sort of deal. But I got that done. I tacked that onto my LinkedIn on top of the complete PLC bootcamp, which, by the way, was more of like an overview. I mean, if you really want to get into PLC programming, you have to go I think system by system, and that really requires you to focus in on certification courses and exams and all that stuff, specific to different, I guess they're called OEMs, the original manufacturers. So different companies that make the PLCs, you got to go and learn their systems and that sort of thing. But there's sort of a general framework behind all of them. They're very similar. They have different attributes and some different features and different values or ranges they operate in with when it comes to different attributes or whatever you want to call them. But that complete PLC bootcamp did give a really nice overview, and I got an idea, generally speaking, of what PLC programming is about and how it works and that sort of deal. And in the future, I'll probably focus on more system specific type stuff, which there was some of that in there, but I'll have to figure out what is more widely used, what is the most widely used stuff, especially around the area that I live and that sort of thing. So essentially what the employers around here are looking for. But yeah, like I said, so I got the Python bootcamp done. I already got the PLC bootcamp done. That was quite a bit shorter than the Python one. But yeah, so I've moved on to the SQL bootcamp, and I'm almost done with it. How long is it taking me so far? I kind of I don't know. I didn't really do much with it the first day. I got through a couple sections, so I wouldn't really count that. But the second day, I got through half of it. I got through half of that, a little bit over half of it actually, and then last night I got to about 85%. And I could honestly just, I could probably finish it up today. So I'd say probably more 2.5 days took me to get that done. SQL's not that bad, at least as far as my experience of it's been so far. I have used some SQL queries in the past, commands to to pull certain like columns or cells, rows, that sort of thing from CSV files for like some of the methods I've written, the example methods, cherry picking or hit picking methods for the Hamilton Microlab star. So I had some familiarity with them, and I think I've done some, either I've done or I've read up on some of this stuff in the past, but diving into this stuff right now, like the logic of the commands, for the most part, they made sense to me. There were a couple, topics or so that were a little more, complex or so, like the joins, different types of joins, but it wasn't that bad. I think I've only had to use the solutions like once so far, and that was just kind of like, I was just like, okay, I want to get this section done. I'm just kind of tired, and I get the gist of what's being asked for, and I have sort of this one little like thing here or there that can't figure that part out. But if I figure that part out, or I look at the solutions, and I'll be able to iron that little wrinkle out of my code, so to speak. But it's come to me a lot easier than some of the other stuff. Though I think in some sense, like the working with Python kind of just sort of warmed my mind up to think in a programming sense. But like I said, I'll most likely have that done today. And let me see. So back on the 25th, I got an email from the trainer for the certification course I'll be getting done next week. And then today, as per the other email, I got an invite to the Microsoft Teams meeting for that, and the whole meeting ID and link and all that. So I'll be able to log into that when the class starts next week on Tuesday, and I'm really looking forward to that. Those kinds of certifications are almost like, and I've talked to my dad about this, so he kind of I got the analogy from him, but it's almost like almost like getting like a security clearance. Like if you wanted to work for the DoD or some other high-end high-level security type thing, it's almost like that, because if you have that on your resume, on your LinkedIn, it's like it's sort of the buzzword, the hot ticket item, the the golden ticket, so to speak, that gets recruiters and the hiring managers and all those folks like trying to get you to work for them, or perhaps at least I mean that would be the ideal, but at least it gets their attention. At least it basically get your foot in the door, because a lot of the problem, or a lot of the challenges with this field and actually making that leap from being a technician to being an engineer, beyond getting the degree and that sort of deal, and getting some experience in the field, has been just getting my foot in the door, just getting noticed. I mean, it's kind of like you could I don't know, you could be highly skilled at some field or so, and you're trying to get into a job in that field, but if you don't notice yourself, if they don't notice you, and you don't know how to market yourself to get their attention, then you'll have as much return on your investment, or you'll have as much of success, getting somewhere, as someone who just was doing nothing, and it'll sort of seem like, man, I wasted all this time and effort and money, and et cetera, like, why can't I get anything out of this? Why am I not able to, get the job, or even get a call back or whatever? But getting the certification next week, and then hopefully being able to pursue the level 2, which is sort of the capstone of that for the specific system, that path would really be the thing to open up a lot of doors for me. And the other stuff is sort of, I wouldn't just say it's padding, but it's more general purpose type stuff, and it's sort of the stuff that I would end up using at my work, so to speak, if I was like an automation engineer or process, engineer, process dev engineer. I'd end up using it to make myself that much more effective, and to get sort of the boring tasks of being an engineer out of the way to be able to do the real meaningful, effective stuff. Like spreadsheet automation, for instance. You can do that with Python. You can, I don't know, like let's say you had a huge Excel file or a huge CSV file, and you needed to break that down into 5 or 10 or 20 other files. It's like, yeah, you could sit there and do that manually, but it's like kind of like, oh, that's not what they hired you to do. It's just part of the job, and it's like, okay, you could do that, in a fraction of a minute, probably a few seconds, with a properly written and formatted Python script, and you could just you could have those 20 files together or 100 files or whatever, and you wouldn't have to be sitting there manually doing that. You can then go focus on whatever it is, figuring out some problem that they're facing on the manufacturing floor, or figure out some issue that they're having in scaling up a process or a product, production, whatever, that was developed by the dev team, or whatever the case may be, getting that transferred to the manufacturing floor. You can go focus your time and energy on that, as opposed to having to sit there and churn through a bunch of Excel or CSV files. And interestingly enough, like that whole example, I could transfer that to what happened this last semester with one of the labs. It was like, if I had just known how to write some quick Python script, I could have probably processed all those CSV files, and probably done data visualization at the drop of a hat, and had all the answers for the lab. And I could have had that done in a single day if I just knew enough Python. And it's probably something I'm going to want to look into in the future. Probably maybe take a course in data visualization. I have one signed up for R, but probably going to take one in Python eventually. But so I got all the stuff to look forward to next week, and I feel like I will be comfortable to start applying en masse to different positions once I have that on my resume. And I'll have to figure out how to format my description, and I'll have to ask I got some questions to ask to my dad, or to anybody else out there who's experienced in this sort of stuff, as to listing Udemy certificates on your resume, because I have them on my LinkedIn, but and I've seen one of my old friends or acquaintances from back when I was in community college. He completed a bunch of Udemy courses on top of Coursera courses, and he has them listed out all on his LinkedIn, but I don't know if lists them on his resume, or it's gonna be whatnot, because while it does show that you do have some exposure and knowledge, it's not necessarily that they're university accredited or something like that. It does demonstrate a certain amount of knowledge and exposure and that sort of deal, but there's all that sort of question of should I list this on my resume or just on my LinkedIn, or what kind of weight does this carry? I suppose if you have some of the code you made in these courses, uploaded to a GitHub or something like that, you can help it. You can use those courses to help build a portfolio. But anyways, so I'm looking forward to that, and just trying to stay focused on this sort of stuff, because you know, to sort of like not risk repeating myself. You know, this is what is important. This is what's This is what is important, and this is what matters. I just repeated myself, but I meant like sort of in a broader sense. Like I've reiterated again and again and again this whole question of like what matters. You know, what's effective, what really will enable, you know, an individual to have power over their environment or over their life, that sort of thing. And, you know, for me right now, these are the things that really do matter. Aside from like the, you know, stuff like health and exercise and diet and, you know, getting enough sleep and managing your stress levels and stuff like not getting into toxic relationships, or if you are in one, getting out of one, and, you know, healing, you know, beginning the healing process. I mean, those things do fall on that sort of list. But for right now, I guess, you know, what I, for one thing, feel that I can do to really answer that question of, you know, what matters or what is effective. One of those things is to focus in on this sort of stuff. Not get concerned what other people are doing with their lives. I mean, unless they, you know, ask me for advice, or maybe I see somebody going through some tough time and, you know, they're a friend of mine, I might, you know, be like, hey, you know, just my 2 cents, or, you know, whatever. But, you know, not getting concerned about the women or, you know, what your next door neighbor's doing in their life, or, you know, politics as it's usually defined, or religion as it's usually defined, or all these sorts of other issues, because, you know, you only have so much time, energy, etc. every day. So many bleeps to give. You only have so many of those. And you know, I may have said this. I feel like I have said this before. Maybe it was in a video I uploaded and then I deleted it, or maybe it was in some recording that I just never uploaded. But, you know, it seems to me like we live in this world where, and I'm sure I'm sure there are or have been others who possibly have articulated it, you know, better than me. But it's like we live in a world, I feel, where, you know, I perceive or understand, I guess you could say understand, or I sort of come to this conclusion. We live in a world where there's, you know, a million distractions, and a lot of the distractions are rooted in, or they're not like natural distractions. They're man-made distractions that are part of a, I don't want to say a system necessarily, but, you know, a multitude of systems, or you know, made by individuals with, you could say agendas, but, you know, not even agendas in the nefarious sense, but agendas in the sense that attention is money. Attention is currency. Attention is, you know, wealth and power and that sort of thing. And if you get caught up in all these distractions, which are nothing but theater and drama, you know, and if they do, in fact, have some sort of truth behind the theater and the drama, or perhaps they aren't theater and drama, you know, maybe they fall into that, you know, they are that small fraction of all the distractions that exist out there that do actually have substance to them, you know, in their entirety or predominantly so. Even then, they're just symptoms of something deeper and bigger, you know, than I think any one individual, by and large, can, you know, hope to affect or change. And your time is much better spent on things that, you know, really do make a difference. And you have to figure that stuff out for yourself as to what it is that makes a difference. But you know, I have to try and, you know, live by these words myself. And, I have to constantly be sort of asking myself that question and trying to answer, what should I really be doing? Because, I'm probably gonna go home and go to sleep, or try to, after this. You can probably already tell that I'm really tired. Been up all night, knocking down, that sequel boot camp. And even if I only just slept for a few hours and got up again, like I could knock that out real quick. But the thing is, like, that will actually do something for me. I've already kind of made up my mind how I feel about a lot of things in the world right now. And it's almost like once you've made up your mind about how you feel about it, or how you perceive things, what your understanding, what your take is on different things, then it's kind of like up to you to sort of answer the next question. Okay, so what am I going to do about it? And if it falls into the category of something you can't do anything about, then it's like, okay, you gotta let it go as best you can. Accept it as best you can. The whole like stoic mentality. Can I do something about it? If I can, okay, what am I going to do about it? What can I do about it? If I can't do anything about it, okay, I need to accept it. Or if, something you can do something about and you've done all you can do, then, now you accept it. That sort of thing. And, that's why, like, by and large, as much as I see the world getting worse, things getting sort of, more chaotic or out of sync, with the way I would hope them to be. I also sort of realize that it's time better spent, at the very least, preparing for the future, if not trying to make for a better future. And you really can't affect things on such a macro scale until or unless you've taken care of like your four walls, and you've risen above that level of mere subsistence. And it's kind of like after you've taken care of that, that's when you can worry about all the other issues, the lagging indicators of success, the philosophical values, and what am I living my life for, and what is the purpose of my life, or to speak from, let's say, a more let's say a thelemic standpoint, or using thelemic language, from a perspective of like, what is my true will? So you can worry about that, you can concern yourself with that, you can work on that when the basics of life have been taken care of and settled. You can worry about getting the girls when you don't gotta be struggling to get by day in and day out, worrying about where your next meal is going to come from and all that kind of stuff. Because for us guys, and it's something that, like, it's one of those lessons that's best learned early on. They'll say, like, bite the bullet and bite it often. Bite the bullet early and often. Yeah, bite the bullet early and often. They'll say that, and it's like, well, what exactly does that mean? Well, it means different things in different scenarios, or for different issues. When it comes to getting the girls, it's like, that's a lagging indicator. Your success with women is a lagging indicator of, whether or not you've succeeded in life. Don't put the cart before the horse. And understand that it's really, in terms of immediate just survival, and prosperity and happiness and all this sort of stuff, it's not that important. And it's hard to tell yourself that. I mean, I know I've definitely had times, especially recently, where I've gotten caught up in, basically the mental emotional effects of a neurochemical reaction. Like having a crush on a girl or something of that nature. And it can be very difficult in the moment to be aware of that, but in the grand scheme of things, the big picture, it's really not that important. and they're not that important. For us guys, it's like we have all these other things that we need to be settling and taking care of and working on and building, for the most part, before we can even look at that as being centered to our existence, centered to our life, And maybe if you're already at that point, maybe that is the focus of your life, and it's a big deal for you, and you look at, or listen to what I'm saying, go, man, that guy's full of it. Like, what's he talking about? Put that off until so much later on, and that's not necessarily the case. If you've got game, if you've got this or that, I mean, yeah, to a certain extent, I'd say that, game can trump all that, but, game can override that, but, I kind of the mindset that, like, for most of us, you have to, again, get to a certain level whereby that stuff will start to work, Some guys, they get to that point way early on. Maybe they're a star athlete, or they, invent the next big thing, or they innovate the next big thing, and they start some, big time tech company, and now they're a billionaire, and they can, they got the money problem solved, so they can go focus on other things, getting in, whatever, shape in different areas of their lives, such that they're, they got what it takes. They got the status, they got the money, they got the looks, and not necessarily because they inherited genetically speaking, but because they were willing and able to put in the work in the gym or so, But again, if you're dealing with the very real possibility of homelessness, like, the girls don't matter. They'll be there in one form or another. It might not be one particular girl, like, in my case, but at least a few, well, several actually over the last several years, where it's been like, yeah, she's not going to be there when I succeed. And it sucked because, I really wanted that girl. But, you were just talking about girls in general. There will be enough of them there the day you succeed. Enough of them waiting at the finish line. So it's like, better, throw on those running shoes, your running outfit, get your running shoes on, lace them up, and get out there on the track, get out there training for that run, and then go run that run and win that race, rather than trying to figure out the girls, Or you can replace the girls with politics, religion, celebrity gossip, the latest controversial article, or clickbaity article, story, whatever, that's designed to distract you, whether or not there's, real concerns behind it or not. You can deal with that after you've run that race and won. And honestly, when people talk about game, and I think it's something that, I think it was Myron Gaines said this. I'm trying to remember watching one of the episodes of Fresh and Fit. They talked about how, like, the red pill, it lays out the rules, the ground rules. It describes the situation. Here's the rules. Here's the rules you have to operate by in order to succeed in this, brave new world, post sexual revolution, etc., etc. But they also made it clear that, in their opinion at least, you could be aware of these rules and such, and you could, in the nature of the game, so to speak, and at the very least, like, protect yourself against all sorts of negative consequences and such. But it was like, in their opinion, for most guys, they would not be able to actually play the game. They could protect themselves against the worst effects of the nature of the game. They couldn't play it because it's like you gotta be in that, let's say, top 10% of all guys, or 20%, of all guys. You know, what are the what are the characteristics of those guys? You know, people can obsess about looks maxing, and that's definitely a part of it. But a lot of it also is money and status. And most of us are not born with money and status. You gotta work for that. You know, you gotta work on that. You gotta get to that point. And then, you know, all you gotta do, I guess, at that point is just figure out how to not screw up. You know, get to a point where girls actually want you, where they make it easy for you. And game at that point, at least as far as I can tell, is just learning how to not screw up, you know, essentially. But, you know, like I said, you can replace the girls with anything else, really. You can learn how it works and all that kind of stuff, but you can't really do much about it until you're actually at that level of attainment, of success, of wealth and health and status and all that. And you can get there, you know, for the most part. I think for the most part, there is a decent chance for most people to get there. I'm not saying everyone is going to get there. I'm not saying you can't fall flat on your face and have everything burned to the ground, and it still can't, you know, get really, really hard, really, really tough. But I think there's a chance, a decent chance. So, anyways, if me tripping over my words several times over isn't sign enough that I need to get some sleep, well, I'm just gonna call it quits now. Finish this, quits in terms of recording this video, and I'm gonna head in and, you know, try to get some rest. So yeah, that's it for me for now. Thanks for watching. Stay 5, and I'll see you folks around, hopefully. Bye-bye.